it's too late to sit down and pen another verse. Music is my therapy.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to this, your F1 Fan Show Live, your Monday night pit stop, where we stop and we discuss all things Formula One. Of course, if you're not new to the platform, you'll know how we do things with our live shows. We like to get the fans involved. So if you're listening live, don't be a stranger. Say hello. If you are watching this on catch up, again, please do not be a stranger. Do say hello to us. Let us know in the comments what you think about what we've said. Even if you disagree, and if you disagree vehemently, we'd love to know what you are thinking. And of course, you can hear this on all podcast platforms, F1 Fan Show Live. So, the F1 Fan Show Live, your half an hour of all things Formula One. I will go ahead and bring in the architect of it all, Mr. Stephen Thompson. Stephen, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yes, not well. Yeah, as we were saying off air, a little bit of stuff going on, but ultimately myself not too bad. It's another week closer to the start of the season.
It's coming around fast, isn't it? It is really coming around fast. We've already had all the car launches. We've already had the first test that wasn't a test.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
we're not far away from the actual pre-season test.
Well, no, we're not, because we sit here on Monday, the 28th of February. Next week, we obviously have a show, the 7th. The week after that is the F1 season preview. So we've literally got one more show after tonight, in which we will be obviously filling it with non-season discussion topics. And then we're into the season, Steve.
It's incredible. It's this time of the year is so dull, especially when your team at football isn't doing very well. And I can't say that they're not doing too badly at the minute, but I hate the Formula One off season because I get so used to having my Sundays occupied with Formula One, and I love the pre-season excitement. You get the car launches. You're always waiting for your team. My team, annoyingly, were the last team to announce when they were doing theirs, but they weren't the last team to unveil it. No, and it's one of the prettiest cars on the grid, so it's lovely.
Opinions?
It's beautiful. And we're getting there. We are getting there now. We've had the tests out of the way, and some teams were surprising, some good, some bad.
Yeah. I can't remember who I sort of thought was the better car last. I think it might have been this one, the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, I think that.
I think I really fell in love with the Alpha. But we have three more tonight: the Romeo, the Red Bull, and the revised Haas car livery to look at. Will those three knock our top spots off? We wait to well there you go, but we wait to see. Right, let's go ahead and bring in your counterpart. He is the king of positivity. There's no intro, Neill, so be ready. Mr. Neill Mowles, here he is. Hello, Neill. How are you?
Hello there. Welcome to the intro.
Well, I could play it for you if you like.
Yeah, it caught me unawares.
No, you're right.
No, I was just trying to save it really for the season. Sorry, excuse me. My light has just fallen over. So if I am incredibly close to the webcam, that's because I can't actually see anything. Neill, how's your week been?
Yeah, and pretty busy.
Yeah, what have you been up to? I see you're not at a budget hotel, so
no, I'm at home.
You're at home. Look at this, Steve.
It
must be pre-season. He's at home.
We're getting there.
Shocking. Right. Where do we want to start tonight then, boys? Because you've got some obviously bits you've brought to the table. Should we start with this bombshell that you slid into the WhatsApp group earlier on today, Neill? The nonsense that supposedly you tell me Alonso's been talking. Do you want to start with that one? That's a good talking point.
Yeah, it was a mix between two different quotes I heard. That one was from Capito and one was from Alonso. Okay. They were both sort of.
What did Alonso say?
Basically, he believes that Hamilton isn't the main man anymore, and it's the likes of Russell and Norris and Max and Leclerc that are the important ones. They bring the fans and the revenue. It's To me, it just sounds a little bit sour, and I know my thoughts on Alonso, but
okay. Steve?
I suppose you could take that in a couple of ways, really. You could be saying that, no, he's not the biggest draw anymore, because he's towards the end of his career now, certainly compared to the likes of Norris, Leclerc, Russell. He could be meaning it to say that he's not the main man. Someone like Verstappen is now the main man because he's the defending champion. So there's probably multiple ways you can take it, but none of them sound particularly brilliant. So, I mean, like it or not, Hamilton fan or not, he is still one of the biggest draws of Formula One.
And where did you see this, Neil?
It's on YouTube, actually.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the name of the person who done it, but yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I was just sort of listening along, and yeah, that was one. And Capito was the other, if we want to swing into that one.
Go for it.
Basically, he was supposed to have said that it wouldn't really be too much loss if Hamilton hadn't have come back. And the fact that he's won enough already and is taking up a seat for a younger member to be on the grid.
I'm pretty sure Capito wouldn't be saying that if Hamilton had been at Williams for years and won 7 championships at Williams, would he? He wouldn't be complaining. I get that he's coming from, people want to see different winners in Formula One. We had new winners this year. It was brilliant. Back in 2012, it was 7 winners in 7 races. That was awesome. And this dominance of one particular driver does get boring. But would he be complaining if he was getting that dominance in the Williams?
Well, this is it. And I'm just going to bring up an article I found. It is from... let me just see what date it is. It's not what I'd say recent. It's from the 28th of January. No, 29th of January. So not a million miles away, but it goes a little bit to what you were saying then, Neil, just to put some meat on that bone for the people at home that, perhaps haven't seen it, don't know where to find it. Let me bring the story up. Williams boss Capito gives brutal verdict on where is it? There it is. On Lewis Hamilton's F1 future, as he insists he could make way for a young driver with the British star yet to decide. That's obviously before he decided, but this is what he actually said in the article. Williams boss Just Capito has fiercely declared that he's not bothered whether Lewis Hamilton races in F1 again. 7-time world champion Hamilton lost the 21 championship since the rumors have swirled. While many feel it would be a huge loss to the sport if Hamilton was retired, Capito does not hold that view and believes the 37-year-old spot could be given to a younger driver. I don't care about it. I don't really care whether he drives or not, the Williams chief told Germany's RTL News. Totally irrelevant. Really totally irrelevant. They always say they're not enough place for young drivers, and then I think if someone has been world champion 7 times, he has actually done enough and could make room for a youngster. Why not? There we go.
Again, there's a couple of ways. It is irrelevant to Williams because, Hamilton's not going to be fighting Williams this year. They're most likely going to be at other ends of the grid. Well, hopefully not. But, you get my point. Mm-hmm. They're not really going to be in the championship fight together. But for
me, it's not his battle.
No. That's Williams don't have to concern themselves with Hamilton. Does he even need to
come out and say that?
No, Williams don't have to concern themselves with Hamilton. They need to focus on their own battle, which is going to be fighting the midfield teams. They're not going to be up there fighting Hamilton and Mercedes and Red Bull for world championships. Certainly not in the coming years.
No.
But it's a thing that if he was, or if Williams were that dominant team that they obviously were before, and that Hamilton was getting these results in a Williams, would he be complaining?
Absolutely not. It'd be the same as Toto Wolff.
I know he's driving for our team now, but it's a bit dull, isn't it? Really, he wouldn't be saying that.
No. He'd be saying, of course, we want Lewis back. Great driver. Plenty more still to be done. But he is right. He shouldn't be bothered because, as you say, Williams and little barring a miracle shouldn't be competing at that end of the grid for at least a year, possibly even more than that. But so he's right to say he's not bothered because he shouldn't be bothered, should he, Neil? Really?
No. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's not his battle. Do you really need to be saying it to the media at all?
Well, if you're asked, I suppose you're going to be honest and lay it on the line. Lewis Robinson, one of our YouTube members, do you chaps think Pierre Gasly's chance at a top team have now gone for a stint at Red Bull, or do you think another good season with Alfa Toro sees him get a spot elsewhere? Steve?
There's a couple of comments there as well from Adam we had previously. Mercedes said, he was never quitting. He said he was never quitting. I think no one really believed that he would be retiring. And just quickly going back to the comment about who do we think will replace Mazepin, I think it will. If it does happen, and obviously everything that's going on with Russia, Ukraine, if they do decide to get rid of Mazepin, I think Giovinazzi is currently leading the way. Ferrari-backed driver. Haas are obviously quite involved with Ferrari, so it may well be that.
What about the other youngster that didn't quite get a seat?
The
one-
Piastri. Yeah. Piastri. Piastri would be really good. I think I'd rather see Piastri than Giovinazzi. Sort of feel like Giovinazzi's had his time. He didn't really impress. But, Piastri does. There was a lot of outcry that Guan Yu Zhou got the seat at Alfa ahead of Piastri. So this could be his moment. And, well, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with Mazepin and everything that's going on, but we'll certainly see.
As for this one with Gasly, I believe that he could do a bit of a science and rejuvenate his career. I think he might have to hop around a little bit, and then his chance might appear. But it's never going to be with Red Bull again.
No,
unless
I doubt that.
Unless Perez finds himself out of the seat and they're really worried about filling it with someone and they end up going back to him. But I just can't see them going back to him. They've almost felt that he had his chance.
They're
a little bit
really
tough like that.
Going back. Yeah, they did it with Kvyat. He never really got that second chance after he was demoted. People have come and gone. Obviously, Albon, whether he'll go back there or not. There were obviously people wanted Vettel to go back. He's obviously too far the other way now. So I think it'd be good to see him in a top team, but it won't be Red Bull. But he'll have to wait for a space somewhere. And a lot of people, Hamilton's got another year at least. Russell's in it for the long term. Both Sainz and Leclerc are at Ferrari for the long term as well. So you might have a bit of a wait unless another team has really nailed these new regulations.
Okay, perfect. Right. We've got some team cars to look at. If we remind ourselves from last week, Steve, your favourite car was the Aston Martin.
Oof.
You gave that a 10 out of 10.
That's a solid 10 out of 10.
You still loving it?
I'm still loving it. It looks even better on track.
Okie dokie. Right. Neill, your top rated car was the Ferrari. Are we still loving that one?
Yep.
Yeah, you gave that a 10 as well. So they're your two top marks so far. Now we've got three more cars. Will they rival or will they fail to impress? Let's start with the Red Bull. What do we think of this year's Red Bull then, boys? Neill?
Yeah, as much as the livery goes, some of the ideas they came out with on it it's just brilliant. It's a cracking car. But as we've got another talking point later, is it what they're going to use in Bahrain?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I like it. It does look nice. The only thing, it looks like half it's missing because it's got that massive undercut on the side pod.
Yeah.
Under the Oracle. So it looks like half the car's just fallen off or been torn off. It would have been nice if they could sort of blend that in with the blue on the rest of the car. That will probably come, I would say, towards Bahrain maybe. But
Okay.
yeah, it's a decent looking car, though.
Out of 10, Neill?
It's a solid 8, I reckon.
Yeah, Metal J says 8 out of 10. Steve, are you going to go with an 8?
I'll go 7 for now. Could improve, but for me, it's just that bit under the side pod that's winding me up.
Okay. Neill only gave 2 8s last week. One 8 to the Alpine and 1 8 to the Williams. So this is your first 8 of the week of this week, the third 8 overall. Steve, you can start me with the Romeo.
That's gorgeous. That is absolutely lovely. It's a little bit different to what they've done the past few years. It's got a bit bland the past few years. I like this sort of retro Alfa Romeo writing on the side. The shade of red, lovely. That's I think, and they've got the wheel covers as well. The coloured wheel covers.
Yeah, I like that. I
They
think
look a bit like a Pokeball. Now I look at it.
Yes, actually.
So I
You've
love
got to
it.
catch them all.
God,
Yeah,
you
gotta
got to
catch
catch
'em
them
all.
all. 10 from Metal Jace. Would you go as high as that, Steve?
I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna have to go 8.5 for that.
8.5. Okay. Do you know
I'm the
what?
same.
Oh, what? 8.5? It's not. So
Yeah.
it's not as good as the Aston, in your opinion, Neil, and it's not as good as the Ferrari.
No, to be honest, it almost fits in that 8 category again. It is a really nice car, but does it beat the Alpine?
Does it beat the Alpine?
I can't remember what I gave the Alpine.
You gave the Alpine, Steve, 7.
Okay. Yeah,
I'd
I
say
prefer the Alpha.
it's on par for me with the Alpine.
Oh, sorry, went too early then.
That's okay.
I think that's up there with my favourite. Last week, my favourite was the Alfa Toro. Do you know what? I think this is better. I think this is better. This is just the wheels, the bodywork. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful car. That's my favourite to date. And then we've got the Haas revised livery car. What do we think of this one now? It's missing a certain flag.
I like Haas more already.
Yeah, it looks better like that. It looks more like the previous Haas cars because they've been sort of your red, white, grey. It's nice. It's simple. Obviously, who knows if they're going to put Uralkali back on it when we get to the season opener? Probably not with how things are. I think it's quite nice. It's basic. I like a white and black Formula 1 car.
Before I ask you to rate it, actually, no, I'll ask you to rate it and then I'll compare it to what you gave it with the original livery. 7 from Metal Jace. Steve, what would you give it out of 10?
That's the most points Haas have ever got. I think I will go for 5.
5. Okie dokie. Neil?
It's nice to have, certain individuals stepping slightly away from it and what they tried to bring to the team. I prefer it, but it's just plain and bland. That's the only problem with it. So maybe about 5 to a 6, that sort of thing.
There's always a chance they could get another title sponsor, maybe, or a few sponsors to fill the gaps.
Looks like an old Stuart, says Adam. So compared to last week, Neil, you are still with a 5. The change hasn't swung an increase from yourself. And then Steve, you're the biggest climber from 2 to a 5.
Yeah, well, the Russian Haas was terrible.
It was terrible. Adam Blamplay, what are your thoughts on the removal of the Q2 tyre rule, boys?
I like it. It's a good idea.
I haven't heard this bit.
Yeah.
Talk us through it then, Steve. What is it?
Well, usually in seasons gone by, if you qualify when you're in Q2, if you get into Q3, if you get into Q3, so you're into the top 10 shootout, you then have to start the race on the tyre you set the quickest lap on in Q2. So sometimes qualifying 11th or 12th would actually be better than qualifying somewhere like 8th, 9th or 10th. Because if you set a fastest lap on soft tyres in Q2, you get into Q3, you've then got to start the race on the soft tyres, where you might be better off starting on a medium, but you might not have the pace to get into the top 10 on medium. So sometimes we've seen drivers who are 11th, for example, who are happier because they've got free choice of tyre. And you'll see that in the race because sometimes the tyres will just fall off a cliff. But I think it's an interesting thing. It could throw up a few things on strategies. I like something that could mix up a strategy. And a lot of people did use that as a bit of a fallback sometimes. Because you're not going to have that option now.
Okay. Perfect.
Is it so basically whatever tyre you done your quickest lap on, that's what you're starting the race on?
Yeah.
For everyone.
If you got into, I think it is now, isn't it? Yeah. Rather than just the top 10.
Fair enough. Yeah, I know for the top 10, they were always worried about them burning an extra set going in, an extra qualifying, so they gave them a freebie set, didn't they, to get around that one?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be good. It could throw up a few different things on the strategy. They've thrown away that chance of making up a few positions at the start now because they're on the mediums, whatever it may be. So, yeah, and again, you had that. Some people would try and get through to the Q3 on the medium tyres, like the quicker cars, and then go longer in the race on mediums. You might not have that option now.
Okay. 11th equals strategic pole, says Adam.
Yeah, on a lot of circuits, yeah.
All right. So tests.
But the
that
thing
weren't-
is,
Go on.
to carry on that point, the problem is if you were quick enough on them tyres, or you ended up keeping in touch with the front runners when they wanted to pit early for the harder set of tyres, and you're on the harder set already, you'd end up getting out ahead of them, or at least messing them up with, being in and around where they're going to come out of the pit. That's the trouble it causes.
Yeah.
There we go. But really, is it one of those things that you got to wait to see to truly see how teams use it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the non-test test. I don't understand that sentence, but I'm hoping you do, Neil, because you're the one that wrote it in the WhatsApp group. The non-test test. What is this about?
Well, it was a pre-season test that was told to us that it's not a pre-season test. It's not going to be televised, even though I've seen lots of images, lots of videos. So what was the frigging point?
It was a joke, wasn't it? And I think if you do have a Sky F1 subscription or anything like that, you should get access to it. And even on free to air TV, this is the biggest rule shake-up in a long time. And you don't get first access to it, but it's going to be all over social media anyway, because the teams are always going to be updating you and posting images and videos and whatnot. But they called it a shakedown, didn't they? It was the shakedown of the new cars as opposed to a test. That's how they got around it.
And have you changed your mind? As an idea about a team being confirmed? What did you learn from this on-test test shakedown?
It's always tricky. You can never really take too much away from a test or from a shakedown or whatever you want to call it, because you're going to get some teams that will run lighter, some teams will run heavier. You've got different fuel loads, different strategies, different tests. I think one thing that we can all take away from it is that Ferrari do look quite strong after that. They were reliable. They clocked up, I think, the most laps out of anyone. It was over them or Red Bull. And they do look quick. They look fast.
Because am I right in thinking McLaren's shakedown was in Spain?
Yeah, they're all in the same thing, same test.
Oh, are they?
Test.
Oh, okay.
It was a test basically. It was an F1 test, but they didn't want to call it a test.
What you're thinking of, Martin, is when they done little, media days. Each team done their own little media day to do a couple of laps. This was an official pre-season get together where all the teams are there,
but not a pre-season get together,
but not a test.
Confused?
Test is not a test.
I freaking am. What the hell are you two talking about here? You finally lost me. It's taken 12 months, 14 months.
Well,
but this is going.
The easiest way to put it, Martin, is it was a pre-season test that was given a different name and wasn't allowed to be televised.
But then we saw all the videos and pictures. So what videos have you seen that's been of interest coming out?
A lot of the porpoising, as they call it. Basically, the cars getting sucked to the ground by the ground effect, and then when it gets too low to the track, it then loses all that suction and raises up again, and it just basically keeps bouncing up and down. So they haven't had that since, was it in the 80s when they last
had
the ground effect
era.
So they're saying everyone who was in that original rule set isn't about anymore, so
all right,
they're having to deal with it again.
Do you know how they'll deal with it? Do you know what?
They've been cutting bits out the floor and doing all sorts of things, but pretty much it just sounds like you make it less effective.
Yeah, you thought that's a bit sort of defeats the object, doesn't it? Because you want the floor basically to suck the car into the ground, but if you cut bits off the floor, then that's a bit counterproductive.
It is. Right. Go on, Steve. Go on. Sorry, go on.
So they'll find ways around it. They're very, very clever people. They'll find ways around it.
Mercedes seemed one that was suffering the most.
Mercedes, Ferrari had a fair bit as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's an article on Formula1.com. I'm going to take 4 points from that article, and we've got 5 minutes of the show left. I'm going to take it in turns to ask you one of the points, and you can answer it in a minute or less. The first point here, I'll start with yourself, Steve, is have Ferrari sprung a surprise? Now, obviously, they went with the the curvaceous F1 75 with some innovative touches for their car launch. The article says, watching trackside, the F175 looked like it was on rails from day one. I was among the most impressive machines that it swept through the high-speed turns. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc were able to lean on it quickly, and thanks to brilliant reliability, they had plenty of seat time. So have Ferrari sprung a surprise?
Well, like I said a little while ago, it's always tricky to say after the very first preseason test. We might get a better idea in the next one. But yeah, I think they could be a team. They've certainly started this on the front foot, while other teams were having issues, breaking down, getting limited lap runs. Ferraris just were out there smashing in the laps. It was brilliant, and they had no breakdowns, no reliability concerns. They've got a gorgeous car to go with it, and yeah, they could be one of the surprises of the season because they've got a new engine as well. So
okay,
good things coming out of Italy.
Neill, McLaren, Danny Ricciardo says they learn a lot, and they've given a lot of data over to help analyze and take forward. So are McLaren in the fight? They were one of the most reliable teams in Spain. They were one of the fastest on opening day, if not the fastest on opening day. Are McLaren in the fight, the top 4 fight?
It's all speculation at this point, and
of course it is.
No one really knows. There's so many different fuel loads and which tyres they're choosing to run. So I believe they'll be there or thereabouts with Ferrari, but I believe that's not agreed by many, and not even agreed by Sky F1. They're pretty much saying Ferrari are giving Mercedes a run for their money and are going to be worrying the top 2.
I hope so. I really want to hear that Monaco anthem followed by the Italian anthem after a race again. That's the happiest podium ever. That's 2 of the happiest sounding anthems I think I've ever heard. And we haven't heard it for over 2 years. It's painful.
Steve, is it as bad as it looks for some? Obviously, while some teams had near perfect runs in Spain, it wasn't always so good for others like Alfa Romeo and Haas. Is it as bad as it looks for them too, particularly? Obviously, they finished 9th and 10th on the mileage chart.
Yeah, I think Alfa racked up the least amount out of anybody, which I didn't see coming. Haas was quite low on the charts as well. That maybe wasn't as much of a surprise. Haas lost a lot of time. Their car fell apart. They had, the floor was breaking and had pump issues and God knows what else. Alfa had so many problems as well. So not the ideal start to Bottas's Alfa Romeo career. They're fortunate that they've caught these issues early rather than the second test now coming up or when the season starts. I think for someone like Alfa, I think they'll be able to recover from it fairly quickly. They're a big team. They've got, ish. They've got a decent-sized budget. They've got a good driver with Bottas. Obviously, jury's out a bit on Guan Yu Zhou still. Haas maybe might struggle a little bit more, especially now with everything that's going on with the title sponsor. So, out of the 2 of them, I think I'd rather be in Alfa's shoes than Haas's right now.
Okay,
that's the thing. Haas really had nothing last season, just purely concentrated on this new car. And had you seen this start happening?
No, that's it. They worked on, they wrote off 2021 to focus entirely on this year. They barely updated, if at all, the car from last year because they wanted to hit the ground running. They had the most aero time out of any of them. And they've done hardly any laps and the car was shaking itself to pieces almost. So concerning times for them.
But before we close, obviously 30 seconds or less, that's how frustrating is that for a team, Neil, when you devote the resources into next year's car and then you get this on opening day. How much frustration must that be?
Oh, must be very, very frustrating. But all it can say is either it was some silly little issue that has caused them to look in the scenario they're in, or the resources and the personnel they've got aren't quite up to F1 standards.
Which one do you think it is right now, as we sit here on the 28th of February?
Well, you'd hope it was the first one, but
Because it's the latter. You're in a lot more trouble than you realise.
yeah. Other than when they borrowed half of Ferrari, Haas have never really been anywhere on the grid. So I just not. I'm not sure.
Half of Ferrari.
They did. There was one season where they
I know, but what
they were allowed.
That's like a team where when they borrowed half of Man United's team, they've never done anything. What a lie!
No.
Absolutely beautiful. Go on, Steve.
Yeah, no, I don't know if they wouldn't really be up to F1 standards. They go through a lot of training. I mean, you are going to get greater maybe training and greater input in stuff when you're higher up. So your teams like your Mercedes, your Red Bull mechanics are going to be more efficient. There's always reasons as to why teams like Red Bull are always top of the pit stop charts. But to be fair, Williams are right up the top there as well. It's the only thing they have been quick at the past few years is doing pit stops.
Absolutely.
So they're in a hurry to get their car back out for 19th. But no, I hope it will go well for Haas. I do quite like them. Gunther Steiner's brilliant. I like Mick Schumacher. I just don't like everything they've gone through with Ural Kali. And they've had to go down that route. And it would be much easier for them if Gene Haas, the team owner, pumps more money in, but he's reluctant to do so.
Okay.
A bit like Marcus Evans, really.
Yeah.
There is that talk that there's the other. Is it Fittipaldi?
Andretti.
He wants to join. Andretti, sorry. He wants to join Formula One, and
with the new team, though.
Yeah, but they've been battered away, trying to say it would dilute the franchise, and there's not space for them on the grid, and all sorts of things.
I think you can go up to 24 cars. They've only got 20.
The pot of money that goes around the teams will be made smaller. So therefore, each team's getting less, and is it worth it?
Yes.
But you think if Haas are struggling, in which Gene Haas has come out and said, no, we're absolutely fine. But you think if they were, could Andretti come in and do a joint venture?
Well, I
proper
heard,
American team going on.
Yeah, I heard that Andretti had approached Haas as that sort of a partnership thing, and Haas had said no. I don't know why F1 would have a problem. I mean, they're American-owned anyway, Formula One. They'll have two American teams on the grid. It will grow the audience. Yes, the pot will be smaller for the other teams, but you get 22 cars. You've got space for 24 on the grid currently. So you've got space for 12 teams. You've only got 10, after a couple teams went in the past few years. So just build that grid up again. Get more, and then you've got a better chance for other talented drivers to actually get a seat in Formula One.
I think the thing they're worried about is the likes of when we had Tyrrell and Minardi and all these teams down the bottom that have just struggled over the years, even Arrows to a degree. And when we had Stewart, they weren't really that good. And
they had the off sort of the odd weekend where they turned up, and that was about it, really. Same as Prost as well.
Yeah, it's
Jordan towards the end.
They want quality, not quantity.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
I can understand it. But...
Another week in the books. We've done it. We're 1 week closer to the start of the year. We'll end with Adam's comment here. Adam, thanks for your comments. We've got McLaren have to be there. Can't go through another Honda era style poor start. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you all for watching. Go on.
I don't believe that will happen with Mercedes and everything that's going on with their engine they've got. They've got a solid basis. It's now McLaren have nowhere to hide. If that car doesn't work, it's not down to the engine, is it? It's down to what they've put around it.
Okay. Steve, when are we back again?
We are back Monday, 7:15. So hopefully plenty more F1 news to discuss there. Another week closer to the start of the season.
Absolutely. So, as you say, grab a beverage.
Get yourself comfortable.
Enjoy
Get yourself involved.
Love it. See you then.
I know it's never too late to sit down.